but still manage.
Yeah, very busy, yeah, Professor.
Very much.
So today you are going to talk about the relation between employee
Mm-hmm.
and employers, and then
Mm-hmm.
also the immigrant,
Okay.
yeah, migrant worker
Mm-hmm.
in Malaysia. Uh, how do Malaysia manage the migrant worker, Professor?
Actually, we manage them by the industries. Unfortunately, Malaysia doesn't have any act that govern the foreign workers. We don't have a Foreign Workers Act, for example. We don't have, because all the foreign workers actually they have a two major institution that govern them. First is Ministry of Human Resource, because Ministry of Human Resource is the one who are taking care of the mechanism and also regarding which sector that actually Malaysia really needs the foreign workers. And normally, our Ministry of Human Resource work very close with ILO and also other international bodies to ensure Malaysia respect the rights of migrant workers. However, since that we don't have act, so it's still you find here and there is an abuse on them in any sectors. I think I will deliver that during my lecture after this. And I think, and second is the immigrations. Immigration is more on the pass, the visa. So and it's be responsible for the employer to ensure that their foreign workers having a valid document. The problem is what happened many time is this employer doesn't want to pay the foreign workers salary. So sometimes they're using them 6 months unpaid. They say because we have to pay, your firm, your insurance, your health certificate, blah blah blah. And then when the time they ask for the salary, they say, okay, we're not going to. Or they give a salary, but in a very minimum wages, which is not like what they signed the contract. Then when the visa expires, the employer called the immigration and saying that, oh, I saw, there is these people, bunch of people, this is illegals. Actually, they are not illegal. They are documented at the beginning. But then because of the act of these employers, it makes this all become undocumented because the visa has not been renewed. Then the immigration come and arrest all of them and the deportation center. This is a normal practice even. And made like I think,
So
yeah, that's it.
yeah, so you can say that the law itself is quite weak, yeah, Professor.
Yeah, it's very weak. I think that's why at this moment, um um because I'm working on foreign workers since 2010. Then I think we on I just finished one of the important research that by Human Rights Malaysia. They give the Suhakam give to scholar grant. So I got the grant, my group. So we propose so many things because I think I can say my ministry or uh, Ministry of Human Resources very good. They want to Malaysia to oblige to have obligations on all the international treaties. But the problem is the sentiments of Malaysian people towards the immigrants, especially the foreign workers, and also the immigration. Immigration is so much reluctance. For example, I say, okay, what if Malaysia can sign on certain treaties regarding labors, foreign labors, and they say, no. At the beginning of the discussion, no, don't talk about any rights that can extend because of the sensitivities. But I think we're not going to talk about, if you're talking about the sensitivities, then you don't need them in our country. But you need them because we are, despite many people saying that we don't have a job, but Malaysian people reluctant to do jobs that which is consist that 3 days. They rather be unemployed rather than they become people at the construction site. No, they don't want. Actually, I think that's why Malaysia having the largest Indonesian foreign workers. I think the number one is Indonesia. We got almost documented at this moment is more than 1.2 million Indonesian in Malaysia. And I do believe there are more because some of them tend to be undocumented soon because of their employers, or they come illegally. But the number illegal, we don't have exact number because we can't catch them. But the documented one and tend to be undocumented, we can search that. And there are so many stories, so many bad stories, especially the treatment to the foreign workers in Malaysia. That is something that each of the government, I mean, every time we change the government, we need to bring this issue again to the prime ministers and the cabinet, because this is can become more can affect the relationship between two countries if we don't take care more on that.
Okay, Professor, since we already have 18 students here, you may start your lecture, starting with the relation between employer and employers in Malaysia, and the law regulated the relation. Time is yours, Professor.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. And I can see that 18 students already online. Thank you very much. Today we're talking about the labor law, but for today's lecture, I purposely were talking about the employer-employee relationship in Malaysian law, and I'll go about regarding the foreign workers. How is the relationship between foreign workers and their employer, and what is the impact from that? Okay, in Malaysia, employment law in Malaysia is actually generally governed by the Employment Act 1951. This Employment Act is only applies to the category for the labor group, whoever having salary between 2,000 and lower. So this is the group that will be put in the category under the employment laws, Employment Act 1955. For those who having a salary more than 2,000, they are going to the category under the Industrial Relations Act. So it's a different, because if you're talking about the labor group, they have a different nature of work and they have different nature protection, because they are doing hard work, dirty works. I don't say it's dirty because it means that they are very in a dangerous situation. So we need to have more protection for this kind of group, especially the labor group. So whoever have 2,000 salary and below, they are fall under the category of Employment Act. But for those who having 2,000 above, they fall under the Industrial Relations Act. Okay, and this is only applicable to the person working in the private sector only. For those who are working with the government, they are governed by their own guidelines, by their own government guidelines. So we are not talking about the government servant here. We're talking only about the labor group, which is under fall of the category of private sector. So in Malaysia, actually, our poverty line is now actually a 3,000. So whoever, our poverty line and our Employment Act is a two different, you see. Our poverty line say that whoever having a salary 3,000 and below, they are fall the category of poverty, meaning not enough. Their salary are not enough to cater family, to pay house, to pay car. No, they cannot have that, because it's fall under the poverty line. But for those who have the 3,000 and above, which is 3,001 ringgit or something like that, you are fall under the category of non-poverty. But actually, if you look at the living cost in a big city like in Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru, or Penang and Johor Bahru are more higher cost of living rather than in Kuala Lumpur. Previously, before COVID, Singaporean always shop in Johor and always buy house in Johor. So the cost of living in Johor become very much higher than in Kuala Lumpur. Even in Kuala Lumpur also, there is a certain area that we call it the Golden Triangle area, where only a million and billionaire can have their house there. So the normal people, normally even you have, how terrible is the cost of living is, if you have 6,000 salary, you are still not managed to get the house in Kuala Lumpur. I'm talking in the city. You have to go outskirt of Kuala Lumpur, or you go a little bit down than Kuala Lumpur to buy a house. So you commute every day. If you work in Kuala Lumpur, you commute far away, about 50, 60 kilometers per day, just to reach your office and house, because you can't afford to have a house in Kuala Lumpur area. That's a very, very expensive. Even the normal condominium can reach about 600,000, 700,000 Malaysian ringgit, which is people with the below 6,000 or even 10,000 ringgit per month also cannot manage that to pay to the bank every month. So that's how we see that, how the Act of Employment Act is not being changed to look at what the scenario of our society today. So for the labor group for the Underemployment Act, these people have a few guidelines for us to see whether their welfare being taken care or not. First, they must have that kind of salary, which is 2,000 and below. And we have to see that the condition, how many hours they are working per day. They cannot work more than 14 hours per day. So if they reach the work 14 hours per day, the balance of their times of working, they need to be paid under the overtime. And this group need to pay to the Social Protection Fund. The Social Protection Fund for workers, or we call it here in Malaysia SOCSO, is where we can cut about 5 ringgit, 3 ringgit, 7 ringgit according to their salary. That's a percentage from their salary, and their employer have to contribute to that fund, maybe 50 ringgit, 70 ringgit per month. This is where, if this labor group having accident during their working time, or on the way to go to work, or come back to work, which is very much related to their assignment to do, if they die or they're injured or anything happened to them, their family, if they pass away, can get a pension, every month pension. But that pension is not that much. It could be 500, it could be 700. It look on how much these workers already have their money in that fund. And this is something that must compulsory for all the employer to put the money, their portion and contribution to this fund, for God's sake of the welfareness of this labor group. For those who don't pay, they will be compound and will be bring to court. That's one. Second, the Employment Provident Fund. We call it EPF. The EPF is where we cut 9% from their salary and 11% contribution from the employer to be put into the fund every month. This is the secure for them when they are no more working. This is retirement money for them, because they don't get pension like the government servant. Government servant is okay because they can get they can choose EPF. For me, I choose pension because I know every month, if I'm retired at the age of 58 or 60, every month I still have a money, half from my last salary during that particular time. But not for the private sectors. The private sectors are still looking, looking around and see what they can get. So these two fund is to protect them when they're having a problem, especially accident, because accident is rampant happen in Malaysia, accident or accident during work. So their family or they themselves need to be protected because of that. And second, regarding the Employment Provident Fund, which is very important because this is the money for their retirement.
Okay, unfortunately, Professor Salawati disconnected, so please kindly wait for Professor Salawati to come back.
So sorry. I think that we are having a internet problem this morning. Sorry, I can't get back. I think that's how we have to look at that as very how important I think I have to use my phone because the inter-house line internet is not good.
It's
I
okay,
hope you
Professor. We can hear your
can hear
voice.
me. Okay. I guess because it was like terrible. I don't know what happened. So again, we have to look at because I think the important things for us is about how we can have protection for this group. Okay, for I think first of all, uh, not only that, we have a very basic salary. The very basic salary for these people at least is 900 ringgit Malaysia. Many people protest because for them that this is not enough. This is not enough. So this is not enough for these people. So how come how they want to live with the 900? But for the certain industries, they can't give more. And also different from Peninsular Malaysia and also Peninsular Malaysia and I can say Sabah and Sarawak. Because the Sabah and Sarawak, they have lower than us in Peninsular Malaysia. Because of that, we have to look the scenario. This group still need protection because this group, the one for me that needs be look into their welfare. So far, of course, for them, they want to increase the salary. But I think we also have to understand that they are not skilled workers. That's why Malaysian government now are working hard to upgrade the skill of our own labor. Because if they are just have a normal skill, we cannot upgrade their salary. They need to upgrade themselves. So we have the TVET, we call it. TVET is there's a program that whoever are not excellent in studies, we give them skills. They can choose which skill they want, carpenters, maybe mechanics or electricians, they can choose. And they have to go to the college to have that. At least they have a diploma or certificate on that. So at least we can upgrade their salary. If they don't have this, they are just a normal, typical
labor. That's how they cannot improve themselves, and they will always live in a poverty line because of this. So I can say our government are now looking for the skilled workers rather than unskilled workers to give more productivity. Okay, so far I think that's how the situation of labor, Malaysian labor in Malaysia, and also that but for the Industrial Relation Act, which is govern the people is having their salary more than 2,000. This is what we call executive, and this executive, they are not under the management. The management, which is all the boss or the owner of a company, they are not applicable under this act. This is only the person who working with the company as an executive, as general managers, meaning that they are working with the company. They are not owner of the company, even though their position is of CEO or COO, but still they are working with the company. So they are under this Industrial Relation Act, and their protection is about their Employment Provident Fund, the EPF, will be look onto it. They have to starting to their salary, and also the contribution by the employers. So that's why this group, when they are retired, they not have much problem, because their fund is so much already. If, for example, they got 10,000 per month, so their payment for the fund is could be almost 1,000 per month. So when they retire, they could have about 600,000, 500,000 ringgit Malaysia. So at least they have a money, compared they don't have money. So because of that, I can say that these people are more protected, even though they are protected, but because of the high living lifestyles, and also the cost of living is high in Malaysia, according to the place where you live, it still for me affect them. So that's why for me, very important for many of the employers to look into their staff welfare. Okay, government in Malaysia give incentive to any of the employer or any company that can give more protection, to give more I can say benefits to their staff. For example, first, if you can have the insurance for all your staff, so the government will cut in terms of tax to the company, because the company paid, so they don't have to pay certain amount for their tax to the government. And also, if they do the CSR, or they do any scholarship, or they can give any scholars to their staff, to the kids, to the staff kids when they excel in exam, or they have also scholars for their children. So all of these will be cut from the tax by the government, because the government want to encourage all the people to do better to the staff, and also to take care of the employment. So their employer and employee relationship. So that's why in this case, I can say to you that I can say that we can see that people in the executive category are quite different from the labor group. So the labor group are still living under poverty line, still struggling. And to make it worse, during COVID now, many people lose their job, regardless who they are, because of the situation, especially people from aviation industries, people from tourism industries, people from trading, marketing, retails. This is all the people got infected very much from this COVID-19. So now, even though you are pilot, you still cannot get a job. No one want to take you as a lorry driver. So many people are start a small business. So it's also, I think, can be give impact also, because if there are so many people selling and not so many people want to buy, that also be a problem. So what can I say is, the employment situation in Malaysia at this moment is quite their needs for the revamp, because people who are lost their job is all 40s, nearly 50s. So people don't want to company don't want to have this kind of mature people to work, and because of their salary and experience. So we are still looking for the fresh graduate, because fresh graduate, you can still demand with them like, okay, you don't have a job. So if you want a job, we can give you only 2,000 or maybe 1,500. It's below the market, but because of there is no job, and the people will accept it. So that is the scenario now in Malaysia, which we really like government to look into it, and the government have to do something on it. Besides, you have to give a money, the money will not going to be lost. You need to give a skill and also opportunity for those people who lost their job. So it's not easy for them, but some people, they don't care because they know they are in the aviation industry. They cannot go back to the aviation industry as soon as possible. So they are just okay to start in retails, to work in the supermarket, despite they are not get used with that. But because of survival, they have to do it. So this is something that for me, you have to see the labor law nowadays after COVID is going to be very different. People cannot demand so much of a salary because of so many people. This is disadvantage in terms of rights, in terms of employee rights, because employee doesn't have a say. For example, you get used to have got 6,000 ringgit salary maybe because of a COVID, and you lost your job. And some people say, okay, I have a job, but as a shop assistant, which is give you 1,500 or 2,000. Of course, you feel like, wow, I got 6,000, now I got 2,000, I lost 4,000, but rather you don't have a job, better you take it. So it's better you take it, other than you don't have. But you have to sell whatever you have, because, for example, there's if you was pilots with Malaysian Airlines, where you get 36,000, 40,000 per month, and you lost your job. Of course, you're living in Bangladesh, you have a Mercedes, and now you have to sell all of this because you cannot afford it anymore. So this is the situation in Malaysia at this moment, where we urge the government to look into it very carefully, and also to revamp whatever that and amend all those act and statute if we believe that it's not going to get along together with the COVID situation. Because the COVID situation is where the disadvantage and advantage from employee are become very thin. It's as if that some employer just using their power as an employer and say, okay, you don't want it, it's okay. Like, they are now feel that you want it, you want to get a job, or you don't want it. If you want, you take one. If not, you leave. So people are in their needs, so they need to do that. So they have to accept, which is, for me, is very bad, because it's really can't do that for the human being. But this is how I say the situation at this moment in Malaysia, because of especially also the situation where the employer take advantage to the employee during the COVID, because when you have this lockdown or restricted movement, you cannot go to work. So the employer say, okay, you don't come to work, I cut your salary. And it's a very bad stories and sad stories when you listen that so many retail people that in industry, the salesman, the sales girl, they cannot go and open the shop in malls because their house is in the red area where you can't go to work. If you want to go to work, you have to fulfill so many things. So the best is if they stay at home. They lost their salary, they lost their income because of that. And also same like the fishermen, the farmers, because they cannot go to get this fish, they cannot go to the sea, they cannot go to their farm because of the restrict movement. So this is something that the government don't look into it. And this group are at disadvantage because they know where to go. And like some of the sales girls that I'm talking to say that because of the close of the malls, I only go 5 days in this month, and my boss give me only 5 days salary. If she has the salary is 50 ringgit per day, how come that you times 5, 250 ringgit? What she want to eat? Even if she want to pay for her room, also she cannot pay. So this is, I think, the disadvantage situation that been taken as an advantage and a golden opportunity by the employer who really don't want to pay their employee salary. So this is how the government come in and say, okay, we give you a package that we pay half of the staff salary, but you cannot terminate them. But many of the company, they take that package, but they still retrench the staff. So again, where is the mechanism of the observation and also to know that these people are actually doing their job and really go with the package that the government gave? No, you don't know. So many issues that we heard every single day about people who actually lost their job, but the company is already take the package by the government that they don't want, they were not going to retrench anyone within 6 months, but still they do that, take the money, but they retrench the person. That's one. And I think the situation also in Malaysia is going to be quite difficult, because the situation where the young people graduated, no experience, have to compete with people who's quite middle age or 30s and 40s having most experience to get a very simple job. So this scenario will again bring more advantage to the employer. Like as I said before, I don't want to take you because you're getting old. I want someone that young, but I want to give a lower salary. So this is also the scenario that happened. And many of our undergraduate, our graduate students or ex-students or graduates from university, they have the polls and say that the salary in Malaysia is actually not up to the standard that their qualification. And many excuse is like, oh, our company don't do well, our company are not, they don't do well, but the boss changed the car every year. So that is the normal reason, normal situation that we have in the scenario of the private sector in Malaysia. Beside, you have to working in the stress, working in the very depressed, because everything need to be online, everything need to be on date, and it must be on the deadline, blah blah blah. So people like, not that happy. I mean, you can see that Kuala Lumpur is number 40, 41 or 47, something like that, the recent city to stay with. And the recent studies show that Malaysians workers spend more time on road and depressed with the traffic jam rather than they spend a time with their family. That is not a good. That's why in Malaysia, you can see many people getting the mental illness without their realizing it. And one of the government's initiative is to give intensive to the employer to give the mental stash or mental stock, or to take care of the mental health for their staff. Our government already started last year, because we found out that many people are actually having a mental problem without their realizing it. They start with the behavior and all that. So our government now is not only facing the challenges on how to look into our own employer-employee relationship, but also have to look into another health matter, not only sexual harassment, but also the mental health. So this is a scenario I can say in Malaysia at this moment. Now I want to talk the issue regarding how do we regulate the migrant workers in Malaysia. This is another sad issue, and it's a very interesting things to be discussed, because I can say that migrant workers are not fall in any category of that act. We don't have the Foreign Workers Act. We don't have it. Surprisingly, we don't have it, even though we start to have a foreign worker as early as 1970s. We don't have it. The reason is always when I do my research on the migrant workers in Malaysia for past 10 years, I see why we don't have even one act for them. Because if you do have an act for them, then it's easy to regulate, to observe, to see the mechanism on it. So we know what we want to do next, in handling them. The reason that always come from the Home Affairs is based on security reason, that's all. Yeah, I know. I say, what type of security you're talking? Is health security? Is the security which is related to the terrorism? Or maybe the idea of the foreign workers because they come from another country that not same background with us? Or are you talking about they will be in Malaysia, they don't want to come back, and they will, they would not go back and they start to have a family here, and you are talking about your interests as Malaysians people are being affected. but none of my question being answered by the Home Affairs. But I have a very good response by the Ministry of Human Resources, because Ministry of Human Resources is the one who govern and administer the needs of foreign workers in the industries and what is the right for the foreign workers. I can say that my work with them and I have many discussion with them. They are very open. In fact, I think our government during the opposition to 22 months become a government, they really want to look into all the international treaty and asked the Ministry of Human Resource to have a group task force to look into it, which include scholars, include researchers, include people from the industries, the needs of Malaysia to sign the agreement for sake of our foreign workers' welfare. However, when the government changed and the present government looks like not interested on this anymore, for them like just another typical foreign workers issue, we don't need this. Whereas for us is, we need this, we need to address it, because they are not falling in any category and they don't have any act that rescue them from anything. Okay, I tell you, they are only governed by the industries. Okay, for example, farming, estates, factories, maids, they could just come like in that kind of category. So we also ask that, is there any possibility in future that Malaysia will allow these foreign workers to bring their family? Definitely no, because Malaysia do not want to have any incurred costs regarding the school or the health of this family of the foreign workers. And we also have a very tight rules on the foreign workers, where in their visa, when they come by the labor tax, not expatriate, they cannot marry. So that's why many of Malaysian ladies married with Indonesian men or Pakistani men or Bangladeshi men, many people have a stigma about them. Seriously. First, they was like, finish already a Malaysian man until you want to marry these people. First, stigma of a society. Second, when they give birth, their kids can be Malaysian, can be not Malaysian. More of the time, their kids only have permanent resident. It's very biased, contrary to those who are married foreigners who are not have the labor tax. Meaning if they come as an expatriate or they come as a student. These are two categories. If you married them and you have a kid, your kid is really Malaysian. But if you married the foreign workers, your kids is not Malaysian despite born in Malaysia. This is the segregations, that how the government look on the foreign workers, the stereotype of it. So for the foreign workers, they are not being allowed to marry. But another way also, if Malaysian men married the foreign workers, their kids can be Malaysian. This is a gender issue also among Malaysian. Their kids can be Malaysian because the father is Malaysian. But if mother Malaysian, father is foreign workers, no. So we got three angles that, father foreign workers, mother foreign workers, and father or mother expatriate. So this is how we deal with it until today. And many human rights group voice their concern that why these two category can get and why this one cannot. What's wrong with Malaysian women want to marry foreign workers? Love is blind. Oh, just because they have foreign workers tag, they are bad people. This is how we look on these people. So this is the great debate until today. Because the human rights group say cannot discriminate anyone in this kind of marriage or protection. So can you imagine that when you don't have any regulation or act that can protect the whole of foreign workers, and we are looking them by the industries, and we observe and try to ensure they are in a good condition just by the industries. So first, after that, we give them to the employers, to the factories, or to their boss. So this is where there is no mechanism of observations. Is it their employers actually respect the rights of these foreign workers? It's also an issue. Because if you can see, there's a few controversy issues in Malaysia, when you can see Top Glove, where they hired almost 3,000 to 4,000 foreign workers from many countries, and they abuse the rights of their workers because they not prepare the safe and conducive working place for them, because you do the glove, you do condom, you do all those with the rubber, and they are working in the temperature about, or I think almost 50 degrees, 60 degrees in that. So this is the abuse of human right until US ban the product from Top Glove Malaysia because of the abuse of human rights, especially the foreign workers. Second, if you are talking about the industries of the security guard, we take many Nepalis. And even you ask the Nepalis, they are being abused. They're being abused where the employer already, normally employers already put their foreign workers in the bad situation, the protection, especially the house. They are living in a very bad, depleted situation where the area that they being live is a really poor area, very dirty area, just because they are foreign workers. And for the in Indonesia, normally the construction, they are living at the construction site. So only last 1st September, we got a little bit success, because for those that we're talking about 7 years about the rights of the foreign workers to have a good protection for their house, for their lounge at the parliament. So since that, all the employers, whoever take the foreign workers, they have to prove to the Ministry of Human Resource that where is the place they put this to these foreign workers. Flats, rooms, house, and you cannot put them in the flat where there is so many people, 20 people in one house with 2 bathrooms and 2 rooms, cannot. So we already have the specification how many people that they have to put. So I think now many of the employees abide with that law. If you don't get the plan for us and don't show, we're not going to give you, we're not release you the new foreign workers. And the immigration will ensure that this employer will be taken legal action. So now we are champion on that, but we are still not champion in things that the rights of the foreign workers when they are in Malaysia. They do not have a right to form union based on security reason. So they also don't have any rights to have a picket or to show the demonstrations also. So where they want to go? And they also, sometimes they do not know the law of Malaysia, because these people are come from a very rural area in Bangladesh or in Nepal or Pakistan, Uzbekistan. They come and work in Malaysia for them just to bring money back to their poor family, simple. And a very sad story when you go on the field and you find out many of the foreign workers, when they start to come to Malaysia for first 3 months, they don't have any salary. It deducted by saying that, oh, the agent bring you to Malaysia, it's almost 20,000, blah, blah, blah. But actually it's not. They are being manipulated by the signing of the agreement that they don't understand when they are back in their home country before they come to Malaysia. So in Malaysia, there is always an issue that because using agent, that is a problem when you're handling the foreign workers in Malaysia. That's why me and my group saying that the government should not using the agent. Government should bring, I think, the new mechanism that maybe we have to see that if the agent, there's an agent that being recognized by the government. At this moment, yes, that the agent is recognized by the government, but there is no I can say body that can look into it. We just trust the agent, simple like that. Whereas, are you sure that the agent actually really do good to these foreign workers? Because we have a case that they bring about 150 foreign workers from Bangladesh to work in our estate. Suddenly, when they arrive in KLIA, their employer said, no, I don't want foreign workers in Bangladesh, from Bangladesh, because they are not good, especially in the palm oil. The only one that can do well in palm oil is Indonesian, not Bangladeshis. So I don't want them. So you see that they are stranded at KL. No one cares. No one. Until NGO heard about it and make it havoc as usual and say, government, what are you doing? You know, these are people, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly the Bangladesh High Commission take part on that. And you know, see, this is a scenario that when you give the agent to handle the foreign workers in Malaysia. So it's really a terrible situation from the beginning. If you can see that, and the stigma of Malaysian people towards the foreign workers. You know, foreign workers are bad, foreign workers are not hygiene, foreign workers bring COVID, foreign workers this, foreign workers that. But I think I don't want to blame them 100% because we are the one who want them in our country, but we fail to give a mechanism to control them. If we are so worried about that, then why not we have a mechanism that can control them? Meaning we are really need the people who are supposed to be in our country and give them protection as a human being. If they got a problem with their employer, where is the body that can they go? No, I normally just go to Tenaga Nita. Tenaga Nita is the only one that's, and also migrant care. This is two bodies, NGO that work, you know, like spinning, gassing here and there to help. If you go to the Tenaga Nita office, you won't believe it, how much cruel the employer in Malaysia did to about the maid another issue, because maid is even worse. Once you get the agent, give her to one house, you don't know anything until she die, or until she's turned to be abnormal or crazy, and the employer will dump them in front of Indonesian embassy, just like that, because we have the CCTV to see that. You know, many employer, like, you know, after this maid being abused, how many years we don't know, so then they are not be good anymore, and suddenly you just dump them. This has happened. Yeah, me myself saw that. Not to mention that if you come to Kuala Lumpur, you see the protection house that Indonesian embassy have for the maid who been abused. You can't believe it. It's happened in Malaysia, but that's happened. So for me, labor law, especially regarding if it's about or regarding the foreign workers, need to have a new mechanism. My group and I really work on this at this moment, because I think during COVID it's opened our eyes how irresponsible of our employer in Malaysia towards their foreign workers. How come then when there's no construction from start March until early May, there's no construction can work, they just leave their foreign workers just like that. They don't come to give money, they don't ask them whether they're eating or not. No, simply no. So for me, this is something that very cruel, very inhuman. No one wants this. But you as a boss, you need to, for me to take care of your people. You know, they are workers, they are foreign workers, they don't know where to go until they have to ask from the social media, help us and all that, you know, and you see that NGOs, personal people, individual come and put them some money and send them rice, flour and all that. That's very bad. And we as the government to take an action on this irresponsible employers, because we just leave your foreign workers just like that. You know that they cannot go anywhere. And what if their pass or their labor tax or their labor visa is already expired during the RMO? You need to notice the immigration, so then they will not be arrested by police or by the immigration, because it's not their fault. The immigration is actually closed at that time, the office. So the employer just cleans their hand, I can say, like, I don't know, you know, I also don't have an income, and then that's your problem. You know, many of our philanthropies, you know, they go by lorries to one side, even near my university, the Indonesian students launched the immediate fund for any lecturers, any staff want to put into some money on that fund, so then they can go around Kajang area to near UKM and to see whether there is any construction workers from Indonesia or many other countries that really needs that. And they show it to us that, see, this construction site in Bangi like this. And some of them is already like the kids, because they stay with the wife sometimes the wife and husband come as the labor also. So they have a kids. The kids, like, there's no milk, there is no Pampers. So that kind of story is happening. So for me, this is supposed not to be happening in this 21st century anymore. But this is happened. So I can say that this is something not happen, supposed not to be happen. Something that I think very cruel to happen, and to show that the real and true colors how we in Malaysia handle our foreign workers. I'm not prejudiced in this. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not saying simply that because I'm emotional. No, this is from my past 10 years experience on field doing these things. So I always believe that as long there is a stigmatics regarding our foreign workers, still we thinking they are the third class, still we thinking, oh, you just come to build, our country, then you are not important. As long we don't educate our people, so this scenario will come long and longer. That's why I'm really worked very hard with ILO and also Malaysian human resource, where we have a few campaigns before the COVID, and we are still doing campaign online through the Ministry of Human Resource, that we need to educate our people towards this. And it's looking good, because why? We start with the higher education, and we go for school, and even we go for those kids at the kindergarten. We use our tools at the Ministry of Education to come and say why human rights for the foreigners, especially foreign workers, are need to be protected, need to be respect them. So if the kids start to see that foreign workers are not a burden, but is to need to protect. And I do believe these foreign workers, they don't want to be in Malaysia forever. They just want to get some money for them to come back to their country and have life, start business, doing good things. I always believe that if they are living in a very good situation in their country, they don't want to come. No one wants to come and leave their country. Everyone wants to stay with the family. So the sacrifice that done by the Indonesian workers, Filipinos workers, Bangladeshis, Nepalis, Indians, Thais, Vietnamese, Myanmars, and all that too, Malaysia is actually need to be recognized. Yeah, of course, some of them bring problems. I think we deal with the human attitudes, but do not look at one or two cases as to prioritize that everyone is like that. Of course, there is a crimes between the foreign workers also, because sometimes even in the construction site, you can see that some Indonesian cannot go together with the Bangladesh, and they fight and killed, and there is a murder case. Yeah, but there's something that I think is, you can't stop it. You cannot, because when you have so many people, this is happen. This is human being. This happen, but cannot just simply it's happen to this. You see, I see so many foreign workers. We need to kick them out. We did once back in 1994. I still remember. At that time, Mahathir said, okay, so many foreign workers, we clean out them. For those who don't have the visa, go back to your country, you come legally to Malaysia. When they went back, majority Indonesian to get their passport done and come as a documented migrants, you know how much is Malaysian lost. The Maggi and the Milo is normally drinks and eat by these foreign workers. Nestle Malaysia said their sales dropped up to 60% when these workers went back to their country. So that is, I still cut that newspaper, you see, to show that, meaning Malaysian people are not that really much eating Maggi, the instant noodle, and also the drinks, the Milo. The Milo is drinks by these foreign workers to give them energy to do work. And also, I do understand that Indonesian, that's common to eat the instant noodle. So they are the one who buy the instant noodle. So when Mahathir said, go back, clean yourself, you come back, documented, during that period of time, Nestle said our sales dropped for 60%. So, for me, this is something that, how important the foreign workers to the economic of Malaysia. So I do believe that for this time being, Malaysia needs to do more, very much more, to protect the relationship between the employer and the foreign workers, especially when we're using this, I can say this, when we have the agent. I still not so happy with the agent, because the agent is talking more about money, the percentage they get from each foreign worker, whereas the welfare of not being happened. And I also that so far the foreign workers that are being protected very well is when they are in this factory or in the industries. And but now I think FGV, the Felda Global Ventures, they are having the largest foreign workers in the palm oil, which is Indonesia is the large number. So since that Malaysia being critiqued because of the treatment to foreign workers, FGV have a task force, and the task force is including us to review the standard of a treatment of foreign workers. So we applaud this by this because FGV is the government link company. So we really help them to have a good model that the government can enforce to all other employers. When they want to take foreign workers, especially in the farming, in the because for us, first housing, second security. Security in terms of the security is in terms of the security is in terms of foods, their passport, who hold their passport is a very important. So for me, this is the things that, and we got a very good response, and the government like want to have this model to be followed by others, you know. So this is how I think that the scholars in Malaysia have to play more roles, to be more vocal to the government. As for me, many people in Malaysia, they don't like what we do, because for them that why you so keen about these people? They are just from the third world country. They are just coming to work. And like I said, yes, they are coming to work, but for who? For our country. So when they are here in Malaysia, give them a right as human being, because they are contribute to the economy, contribute to the prosperity of a country. So I can say before I stop my lecture, I can say that Malaysian workers are being protected well under the Act, whereas the foreign workers do not have any act that regulate them. And it's based on the NGOs, on scholars to always shout and barking to the government that what you do is wrong, you are doing is bad. So this is the situation in Malaysia. You may ask the question, I want to change my phone to my computer, so I take about 2 minutes breaks. So I'll come back and I think that question. Just give me a break for 2 minutes to change, because the line is getting better now. So Mr. Diastama, I can do that, right?
Yes, you can change into your computer. We will wait.
Give me 2 minutes, and I come back.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay, students, if you have any questions, you can directly ask Professor Salawati, or write it down on the chat section after Professor Salawati change the computer to the computer. Thank you.
Mr. Dias Tama,
Yes, Professor.
I think I don't need to change it because I think the line are not stable, so I continue it here. So I don't want to disturb
Okay, sure.
our time. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
All right. They can ask me a question, no problem.
Okay, sure. As long as you.
Yeah.
Okay. We already have 4 questions, Professor.
Okay. All right.
We
Very
already
good.
have 4 questions. First one may be Georgie. You want to ask some question?
Yes, sir. Hello.
You can ask directly, Georgie.
Okay. Good morning, Prof. Salawati.
Yes.
So I want to ask a question related that you not agree with the Against method. So can you give like the example or another method that will be more effectively? So it will be more will be will be good to the government.
Regarding the foreign workers, right?
Yes, regarding the
Okay.
foreign workers.
Okay. Only that?
Thank you.
Only one question?
Yes, Prof.
Okay. All right. When you're talking about the foreign workers in Malaysia, as I said to you, the first is how our people look at the foreign workers. That's a very important. I can say that because the attitude of the employer from the beginning is like, oh, you are just foreign workers, come here to get money. So I can put you anywhere. So the tradition and the habits or the practice is the government do not control it from the beginning. Government just like, okay, I want to ensure that the progress of the country, the building, all the other things, I mean the progress, but the lack of use this have the mechanism. That's why at this moment we are proposed to the government to have a very effective mechanism. How? First, you need to ensure that the workers, the foreign workers that come to Malaysia, they do have a skill. They do have a skill. They must have a skill. For example, if they want to work in a factory, they have to, for example, have skill on that particular things, or you need to give them a training before they come to Malaysia, or they must before they enter their job place or the working place, they must get at least 2 months training to make sure their effectiveness and also not beside their health. Health is another issue. So then from that we can see the competency of them, because I think it's wrong for Malaysia to have foreign workers but never upgrade them. We never upgrade them. What we have now is just so many people who actually are not skilled workers. We need a skilled foreign workers. So how we can do it? We must have the effective method. Like you asked, what is the effective method? First, what is the upgrade skill for our foreign workers? Second, how much that we protect them? We only have the insurance on them lately after so many years fighting left and right. Before this foreign worker are left with no protection on their healthcare. What if they're involved in accident? What if they die during working? The government just like, I don't know, that is all the companies, yeah. So the employer like wrap their body in the casket and pass them back to their country, just like that. So we believe that we can't have that anymore. So we propose to the government, first, you must know how much actually exactly the numbers of the foreign worker that we need in certain industries. For example, FGV told us that we need, we already want about 1,500 more Indonesian workers. Okay, exactly 1,500. And from this 1,500, they know the condition is quite harsh when working in the palm oil. They must be young, what age range of what age to what age. They must be healthy. They have passed all those goal for the FOMEMA, means no AIDS, no STD, no COVID, no everything. Health, okay, you do. And they also must access to the doctor at the estate or the palm oil. Cannot just use them like a robot. So we have that protection in terms of health, protection of the fund. So FGV start to have fund that if the staff or the foreign workers finish working at the tenure expire, they have a certain money like a compensation they have. So they have something, after they're working with FGV. And I propose that the government have the fund for the foreign workers. There are many people angry with me because why would they have a fund? It's only for Malaysian. I said, they're not going to take your money in your provident fund or in your so. This is the fund for the foreign workers that being handled by the human resource. Do not give to immigration. Immigration nothing to do with it. This is the human resource that work with immigration to see only documented foreign workers will have that fund, meaning they can get that. First, we need to have the more fund. Second, insurance. Yes, we have the insurance on foreign workers, but not enough. Need to have more to cover it, and not only for them to contribute for their insurance, but also from the employer. That must be compulsory. Third, we already championed in sense that to give them a good protection, especially for the right to house. But now, salary. The salary also are still not so sure, because some working in the factory, they give 400 ringgit, 500 ringgit. And also, as we are still against the government to practice about 3 months, they arrive in Malaysia, they don't have salary because they pay to the agent. It's wrong. That's why we say third parties cannot be that way. Okay, we can have the body in Indonesia or in Malaysia that handle these two, I said, because if government to government is more appropriate and accurate. If then rather you have a third parties and the third party were talking about their counterparts in Indonesia, okay, how much that we can gain from these people. People when talk about money, they forget about the humanity. This is what happened. So I propose that the effective of my government that first rights for this foreign workers to have their own provident fund, which is they can have certain amount after they are finished working in Malaysia. Second, they must have got the protection more under the insurance. For example, if they're sick, they die, they got any problem in Malaysia, they are being protected same as Malaysian who has the medical card. Third, we must have a certain assurance on the minimum salary, minimum wages, because at this moment we don't have that. We just given to the industries, which is I think are not practical. Number 4, I think for their rights to have a good and life, especially for the housing, which is we already did, but still have many things to do. Number 5, we also want whatever their dissatisfaction. They don't have anything. They don't have anybody in Malaysia that can go. Normally they contact their only attaché or their people, or they have a small group, just only that. Or they go to our tenaga nita or migrant care to have the problem. I mean, to solve their problem. That's wrong. I ask government to have their own. That's why now we my group, human resource, the Ministry of Human Resource and ILO, we're having a campaign, as I said to you. First, change the mentality of Malaysian people towards the foreign workers. Second, we urge the cabinet ministers to have on this issue and being discussed at their meeting, a cabinet meeting. Because if they don't talk in a cabinet meeting, none of the ministers taking care of it, even though it's the human resource issue, it's the issue that affect everyone. So these 5 issues, if the government of Malaysia can do it, I do believe it can give a better life and more prosper for the foreign workers. Now also some of them making money, but many of them are also being abused. We want they have a center that they can go and talk when they have a problem. Because many of them do not know the rights under the law because they are not fall under any category of Malaysian law. So the law is us, not them. So that is, if we can have these methods, we can solve the problem. But To do it, even like, to get the right for them to get a good house, also it takes about 7 years for us to I can say to shouting here and there, for people to listen. At least we did. The parliament, passed that enactment. So we all feel happy with it. But there are many works to do, many works to be done. And you need to be strong, and you need to, just don't care what people want to say, because, many people say bad about me, but I think I just do it because they're all also human being, and I also human being. I think we should not treat others human being badly just because they are foreign workers. Any other question?
Okay, so another question from Agnazara. You can deliver your question directly to Professor Salawati, Agna.
Okay, good morning, Prof. Salawati. I'm Zara, and I'd like to ask regarding the labor law in Malaysia. So in Indonesia, we recognize about the regulations regarding the menstrual leave and maternity leave, or as we say, cuti haid and cuti melahirkan. So what about in Malaysia? Do they regulate them as well? And can you explain me the details if they have it? Thank you.
Oh yeah. You're talking about the confinement days leave, leave. Yes. For government servant, we got 3 months, and the husband got 7 days to be with the wife. Okay, but for the private sector, they have 2 months leave after giving birth. Then the husband got 3 days to be with the wife. We do have it, and it's being stated in the Industrial Relation Act, but not stated in Labor Law Act or our Employment Act. So the labor group is still got the 2 month salary, but normally the boss will not pay. This is a cases that we have many times, despite they are Malaysian, just because they are labor group, the boss normally say, you stop working when she want to give birth, you stop working, then after you come back, you already give birth, 2 months, you come back and you work back. So the boss is want to escape to pay 2 months salary for nothing because she's in a confinement day. So that is a very cruel attitude also. And also some, they just sack the lady. So after they know 2 months, they call, hey, you want to work again? Okay, you come. So this is the situation that we face with the labor group, but not with the executive group, because the executive group, they already said in the act, so they don't have problem. We do have, but many employers actually do not want to give this 2 months salary to the ladies who give birth.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, next question, Akbar Emir Sharif. Akbar, you can ask your question directly to Professor Salawati.
Assalamualaikum. Good morning, Professor Salawati. So, as you mentioned that Malaysia already providing a program to develop the skill and also the knowledge to all the workers in Malaysia. And as we know that during this pandemic, a lot of people suffering both mentally and physically, and especially for the workers. And as you mentioned also that a lot of workers, they experiencing like cruelty actions from their company and many more. Do you think is it important for us to create or to develop a program that putting concern on the mental of the workers? Because I think that when we can develop their mentals, or when we putting concern on their mentals, it will affect on how they work or the skill of the workers. Do you think is it important for us to create such program for their mental? Thank you, Professor.
Oh yes, yes. I really applaud that, because why? Even I think back in 2010 when I was in Jakarta, we did discuss about this. You know, for 10 years already we discussed that not only the receiving country have to have that kind of program, the sending country very important, because I think this is something that we need to bring back to both government, that before sending the foreign workers have to develop their mental skill. Mental skill is I do understand from my experience when I was in Indonesia, I go to many areas, yeah, rural areas, to see how the people react about to work in Malaysia. Some are so naive. For them, it's like, oh, I want to come to work in Malaysia because then I can build my parents' house. They thought just like that without knowing that there are so many challenges. What can they do if they're being tracked by the third parties who are really just want to smuggle them? That is my concern. So that's why I said it's very important for the government, both country, to have a mechanism to create the mental, I can say, not only about how to prepare themselves to work in other country, but also to make sure that they have a very good idea and what to expect. You know, especially in Malaysia, we are not going to see only Malays. We divide Chinese, Indian, and these major, I can say, races in Malaysia. Our treatment are different. The way we brought up are different, despite we are Malaysian. You know, so that's why the foreign workers need to be taught and need to have the very strong mental, because if they have to work with Chinese in the house, the different from they are working with Malay in the house. So that's why for me, it's a very good to have that. And I really want the sending country to have a mental test also for the foreign workers who wants to come to any of destination abroad. Because we feel very bad. There is a few cases when I was at the shelter of the embassy, Indonesian embassy in Kuala Lumpur, because 2 or 3 of them actually have mental illness, but it's minor mental illness back in Indonesia. So when they are working in the house, they cannot stand with the stress. One nearly killed herself. One want to she takes the want to, I think, to cut her hand, something like that. But the employer like very scared and called the Indonesian embassy to take, because she believed that no point to bring to the agent. So that's why I said to you, I think your suggestion is very good, and in fact we already put it in one of our suggestion for the sending country to prepare, and also for the receiving country to continue the program. That's a very important for the foreign workers.
Okay, thank you, Professor, for your explanation.
Okay, Professor, you have a lot of questions at the chat section. Yes, so many students ask a question for you, Professor. I will read the question. First one from Mukhtar Faza Daulay. Good morning, Professor Salawati. I'm Faza and I have a question. Do you think there is racism regarding the foreign workers are being treated?
That's a
Is
question.
that clear enough, Professor?
Okay. Okay, racism for foreign workers. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I can say that the worst part is to the Bangladeshis, because the Bangladeshis is not handsome, because they are dark, and Malaysian people love to see more fair people. I think towards the Indonesian, not so much, because maybe because the Indonesian workers can assimilate in the situation. So we don't have see that the racism in terms of people to them, but to Vietnamese, to Bangladeshis is very clear. To Pakistan even very clear, because maybe because Indonesian they have men and women come to Malaysia, and many of the women also, they are more or less look like us. So the way they are wearing the scarf, the way they act, so we don't have much problem with that. But we have the problem with this kind of racism towards the Bangladeshis or Myanmars or Vietnam, based on the attitude of these people. First, because many of them practice unhygiene lifestyle. So they love to throw rubbish, they love to eating the sirih and then spit everywhere. So for Malaysian people, that is a big no. So when you look at them, you see in any social media or any on road, even when you see the Bangladeshis, then people start to say, I see, this Bangladesh is very dirty, very smelly. So people start to have that mention. And even I can see in the public transportation, if this kind of group come, people don't want to sit beside them. Many people say they are smelly, their armpit is really stink, we can't stand it. So, but not happen with the Indonesian, because Indonesian normally they have motorbikes. They have motorbikes. They're very rare to take taxis or Grab, because unless they want to go to city, but normally they are living in a construction site, or they already have the place, like if in a factory, the factory provide the van and all that. So we can see that the racism among the foreign workers is happened according to the country. Yes.
I was the one who asked a question. Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, Professor, I want to thank you for the response, and my opinion on your answer would be, I think that tolerating this issue is very important because the laborers' lives are very important. So, thank you for giving us an insight. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. Yes, still a lot of question, Professor.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so next question from Alia. What policies could be initiated to protect migrant workers to reduce the cost of labor migration? Because we know that migrants are sometimes charged with higher taxes.
Okay, this is a problem. That's why I said, when you having an agent to agent, that would not give any benefit to the labor group, because this labor are being charged up to 20,000, 30,000. And then sometimes they charge the flight ticket. I don't think so. The flight ticket from Kuala Lumpur to Jakarta, or Jakarta to Kuala Lumpur can up to 5,000. They are not take the first class. They just bring that people by AirAsia. This is ridiculous. That's why. Why? Because the agent take a certain percentage. So the one who burden all these things is labor. The labor themselves. That's why I say to the government, rather than we have the third people that partners, we must have like partners in Indonesia or in any of sending countries, that we must have our own body that can deal with this, which is under government, not agent. Because if agent in Bangladesh already put 5% from the whole 20,000 ringgit. And when arrive in Malaysia, the agent in Malaysia take another 5,000 from that, it increase about 25,000. And then before they can give, not even start the work, the labor already owe the debt 25,000 ringgit Malaysia, which is a very huge, big amount for Bangladeshis, poor Bangladeshis, majority. So do you think that it's not against human rights? It is. What you're talking about, labor bondage, for me, yes. This is a modern labor bondage happen in my country. So this is why I believe that we need to reduce this. My suggestion to my government is, please do not use the third party, especially from the sending country and from us. We must have the body, we must discuss back with each of the government. Can we set up a body that I do believe Indonesian government willing to sit down and ask and stay together with us and say, okay, maybe they can have one organization that only for Malaysia, and Malaysia must one under the human resources group have one unit that only dealing with this with the Indonesian government, so we can ensure that the people who come here are not paid so much, because we do not any people in the agent in there. But since the agent are playing, between that, just using the G2G agreement, that's how we can't reduce the labor fees. Because these people are taking about 20,000 to 30,000 per person. So it's really cruel for me. Any other question?
Okay, so Yeah, sure. Thank you for the response, Professor. Next question from Scholastica. She asking three questions. The first one, how they or foreign labor enforce their rights in Malaysia? The first one. The second question, does the Malaysian labor law can influence and apply for foreign labor, especially for prosecution? And then the third question, during this pandemic, is there any regulation to regulate and protect Malaysian labor itself? And also my question, and for international labor in Malaysia.
Okay.
That's the
All right, I get
question
it.
from Scholastica, Professor.
Okay. How they fight for the enforce the labor rights? I think foreign labor, as I said to you, they don't have rights. We don't give them a right. Suppose that they get. As I said to you, they don't have a right to form their union. They don't have a right to demonstrate. They don't have a right to say what they want to say about us. They are not allowed to do that. So what rights that they want to enforce? They just back in the square one, come to work, come to face the prejudice. If the employer are not paying up salary, where they want to go, they contact their friend or they contact their embassy. If embassy is good enough, they will help. If not, they have to go to the NGOs. This is how they enforce their rights. This is the situation. So as long they do not have an act that regulate them, they will be like this forever. That's why we ask the government to have, if you are so afraid to have an act, you're so afraid because you say, oh, this foreign labor can give a very bad security to Malaysia. Okay, fine. Why don't you have a mechanism to ensure their rights are being heard? But we are still at the level of urge the government for this, yeah? So at this moment, the foreign labor really don't have a right that they're supposed to have. Second, labor law that apply, especially on persecution. Okay, many of the cases that brought to the industrial court normally done pro bono by the lawyers. Many of the lawyers, like me before, we do pro bonos. Pro bonos mean we get we do the free case. They don't need to pay anything to us. We bring them with our own cost, part of our CSR. Is especially when they have an accident at their office or they're being abused at the workplace. Normally, if you go to the Tenaga Nita is the most favorite places for all the foreign workers, any country to go, because they are very efficient, they are very fierce, they are very protective to the foreign workers. So these people will call up any lawyers and say, do you want to take this case? For example, there is a case of Bangladeshi staff. The negligence of the supervisor, which is Malaysian, not switch off certain machine, and he lost his hand. And when he lost his hand, the employers just like, okay, you go to the hospital, and no one care about him. So his friend like demand the right for him, and all of them been kicked out because of their demands. So they brought this attention to Tenaga Nita and to us. So we asked the Bar Council Malaysia, if there any lawyers want to do pro bono, there is 2 lawyers that take up the case. So this lawyer take up this case and sue the employers and sue the agent, and they win. The court actually listened. The only thing is, these foreign workers do not know who can bring their case, because the case is have to be paid. They don't have money. They're already handicapped. Why don't they get some compensation on that? Where is the insurance that they paid? Can't they get it something? So none of the employer care about it. So this is the problem where they don't know how to do with it. But the prosecution is the court listen. The only thing is court cannot go to find them. They have to go and find themselves a lawyers. So this is why Tenaga Nita, Migrant Care, very close with us, very close to all of us to work on it, who can do. So prosecution side happen, okay. Court listen, court never prejudice towards them. So regarding how to regulate the labours during this COVID-19, I think government are doing it very bad. Government, I think, do not know what to do. We are struggling with the themselves. You know that the government of Malaysia are not from the one is after they give up back last year, and this is like the mixed party of everything, and many are very, very quiet because they got the power, so they're very happy to be a minister without doing any job. So this is where the Ministry of Human Resource, the new minister, are very quiet. I don't hear anything from him since the pandemic. He just saying that, okay, we will try to help, we will have, try to this only that. But if you talk about regulation, no, people are keep losing their job day by day during COVID, and foreign workers also, some of them no job, jobless, but no one cares. So now many of the burden come to the NGOs, and NGOs who now try to help the migrant workers. At least they can leave Malaysia if they don't have any job, or they can continue their job in other places with the work together with the NGO and the immigration. So if you ask the regulation, we don't have, and our government look like very lack of awareness in doing this. That's I can say.
Okay, Professor. Thank you for the response, but unfortunately, we have limit the time. I mean, it's already 8:30 a.m. Yeah. I'm sorry for the other students that can now ask some question to the professor, but we still have several meetings with Professor Salawati. Tomorrow you have tax law, yeah, with Professor Salawati. And Professor, you can deliver your closing statement.
Okay, all right. I always believe that whoever you are, foreign workers, citizen, we need each other. I believe that treatment to other human being must be same, regardless who you are. Respect and give a right is a must. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor, for the wonderful lecture this morning. See you on the next session with the International Undergraduate Program. Thank you, Professor. Terima
All
kasih.
right. Thank you. Sama-sama.
Good morning.